Hey everybody, this is Chad Warren. I wanted to meet with you about, I was looking down at this anthill, making sure I wouldn't get bit. There's a video you see up behind the image of me. It's made by Casey, who goes by Enter the Stars. Breaking Trump paid no federal taxes. Okay, so what he's basically saying, Casey is in this video, is that the American dream is a nightmare. The whole idea that you can go from nothing to something financially is a scam, is what he's saying. I think his point of view is, anybody's point of view is valid to hear, even if it's wrong. That's what freedom of speech is about, that truth is somewhere in between us. Because even if we're correct about something, we have to deal with each other and how that affects us and what we do affects them. So he, supposes that what's going on is that more information is going to come out and Trump's going to say, well, I didn't pay a lot of taxes because I had business losses, so my tax liability was reduced, it was written off, which is legal. So in general, I want to say that I think that both things are often true at the same time, regardless of what you're talking about. That the water crashes into the land. You've got those two different forces, and they're really interdependent, interconnected, from the same source and going to the same conclusion. So while on the one hand, the truth movement, the conspiracy independent research movement, the people that use the internet to learn what's going on for themselves instead of being in a religion where you just agree with whatever is in a textbook or on the media, everything has its pluses and minuses. And it's well known that there is a big concern that many of us have about how the internet has made it to where you've got me talking to the smartphone, and then you're going to see this video, so that we're isolated and we are choosing more what we want to consume in terms of points of view, and that we're reinforcing our biases, okay? And that is true. So what are we going to do about it? That's really the question that I am asking for you as the viewer. I think that I've been saying this over and over and over again. I don't know how to do this, but I know that we who choose to, have these channels and want to be a part of this local to international culture that kills mosquitoes, that wants to somehow be a part of a new level of self-government where we cooperate and negotiate what we're going to do, not just truth entertainment where we're just consuming content, just like if the complaint is that, well, these people like Trump, they have all this money, and so they're organized criminals, and it's not fair because he inherited this money and all that. Well, I mean, why is it that, I don't hear any truthers criticize their own behavior. Do they think that they're perfect? I don't hear any Trump supporters criticize the right, or that's what what's a big part of this video. I'm asking you, are we really, you know, has Trump really made things better, or is it just more emotional? You know, here we all are, he's telling us what we want to hear. We want to hear that America's going to be made great again, and not just America, but, you know, Brexit and all of Europe is involved in a similar conservative revival, that we've gone too far towards cheap Chinese goods, you know. Russia's super, you know, looking at who they are in this reformed Russia beyond the Soviet Union. We see Hong Kong having to deal with being forced into fascist compliance by the Communist Chinese Party. So I'm just saying that what Casey's doing is he's sounding like a victim. And I'm not here to bash on Casey. What Casey does is he does deep dives into symbology in entertainment, and he reveals all the stuff that's there, but we just, you know, don't really look at it. So that brings me up to a point, you know, like he'll tell you, well, really the Statue of Liberty is this pagan, you know, Luciferian, it's Sol Invictus, that's what the sun rays are coming out, and how that there's a lot of Masonic Luciferian influences on America. So I just think that truther people like myself, we do the same, everybody has the same kind of behavior but in different areas. So we hoard up this information. And, you know, why doesn't Casey make enough money from his YouTube channel? Is it because he's not charging anybody any money? I think he's got issues with money. And I have issues with money, paradoxically, because I inherited it. So that made me ashamed, right? And then my whole family was like, oh, you're going to have it made when you inherit this money. And anybody that knows me can tell you, man, Chad has really struggled to keep a job because I felt that I had to do what other people didn't have the opportunity to do. So, you know, I went to Full Sail School for the Recording Arts. I wanted to make movies, and I wanted to make movies, you know, like we see today, to where if the negative side is that the Masons are programming their agenda within all this media, right? That they're not selling you sex, drugs, and rock and roll just so you can have a good time. They're doing it because they know it's going to weaken you, right? So, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell and her father, they had a strong family unit, maybe too strong. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses to everything. There's definitely downsides to family. Family becomes organized crime. But on the other end, look how this diaspora that we're in as these alternative media people, I mean, what we have to have some kind of, we're free to have a system to organize, but we don't. You know what I mean? And all these complaints that Casey was making, well, you know, you're gonna, in your 30s and 40s, you got to be saving up, and then you got to pay for your children's college. Well, why are you sending your kid to college? It's been obvious for decades that that's not a good investment for a lot of people. That most people get worthless social justice warrior degrees. That it's not an actual skill that you have. So, you know, I would like to hear from Issac Weishaupt and Sam Tripoli. You know, Issac Weishaupt has Illuminati and Unpopular Culture, and I think that he makes some kind of a living off of doing this. And you know, if it's enough to pay your bills, you know, isn't that what everybody, see, that's what everybody is talking about. Isn't that a positive that we're saying, well, you know, my point is not to just make all this money and live in a big house and work all the time and never see my kids, right? No, it's you live in a tiny house. There's another guy that's younger, yuppie financial expert supposedly, but he's promoting this FIRE concept of oh golly, the RE is retire early, financially independent, retire early. But my point is that he's showing you, he has a whole episode I watched about how you can't afford a Tesla vehicle. So if you should be only spending 1/10 of your annual income for your vehicle. I don't know if it's the same for your home or what, but that means that, like, you can't afford a Tesla unless you make $1 to $2 million or something crazy like that a year. So if you're making $20,000 a year, you don't need to spend more than $2,000. That's like a bicycle or some rollerblades, or, you know, a cheap car. If you know mechanics, or know a good mechanic that can ensure that you're not going to spend too much money on it. So those people that are super ambitious yuppies, they understand that they have to go without, you know. So the way I see it in general is that we are told all these things in media that are not true. But people have to understand that if you value freedom of speech, you have to allow that. Because we're not forced to go get Burger King, you know. That's like me being poor. That's the kind of thing that I waste money on. It's like, oh, well, I'm tired of eating canned sardines and tuna and pinto beans and organic baby food of vegetables and fruit. I want to go have a hot meal. So you're spending, you know, $12, 10, 12, whoever knows, for a meal. And then it's like, oh, well, I guess I'll get this app for Burger King because, you know, you save $1 if you use the deal. But then you're literally eating, you know, baby fetus tissue that's used in these artificial foods. So what excuse does somebody like me have that does watch all this uncomfortable, inconvenient truth content for all these years to continue to eat fast food, both because it's unhealthy and because it's expensive? So that's my problem. So I want us to send this energy to Casey to start to analyze his own behavior and break out of his isolation. And not just him, but, you know, me, I'm somebody that's trying to break out of isolation, and I find that hard to do. Where do you go to meet people? You know, have I ever talked to anybody at a coffee shop? Well, there's one here that it doesn't seem easy to do that. There's another one that I used to go to and talk to people all the time. Did I ever develop any meaningful relationships from that? Not really. So, you know, we all have things that we need help with, and we need to help each other. So I'm going to play a little bit of Casey and what he's saying here to get the gist of him saying that the American dream is a scam, and I would like your response to that.
Programming us with, you should own a home. Programming us with all these new cars and things and private school. You guys, we're not living the elite super wealthy's reality. We're just not. We're not even close.
Why would you want to live the super elite wealthy's reality? Do you want to be Prince Harry and, have this woman marry you so she can become a royal, or so you can be used as this tool to come over and interfere in the U.S. elections? Does that sound like a good idea? Does it sound desirable to be Obama and you're in a prison where you're guarded all the time up at the White House? Somebody's telling you what to do. We're not supposed to want that at all. And like, if you're if we go back to a time before this artificial, there is no time before an artificial civilization. I mean, if you look at Sumeria and how we learned agriculture is different than hunting and gathering. So we haven't ever known that for thousands of years. And but I mean, let's say you're talking about the 1800s or today, and you have a farm. Uh, Man, those people work their butt off. I have a small yard care business, and shoot, if I mow 2 yards a day, I'm whooped. That's just me by myself. But I mean, imagine anybody that has a farm, or you got Curtis Stone's talking about urban gardening. I assume he'd tell you something similar. He's probably working from sun up to sundown. So,
And a person that tries to convince you that we are, they're just being insincere. They live in an entirely different economic system. They hold on to their wealth through moral concession and compromise. And me and you and all of us on this show, we live at the mercy of their system of control.
yeah, we do. So what about it? That's what I'm saying. You want to fantasize about being a caveman? Well, you got all kinds of predators. You got other barbarians coming to get you. You got lions. You've got disease. That's the natural world. That's the way God made it. God made the devil and this physical world to test our spirit. So the whole idea of complaining is just the beginning. That's like if you have a scientific method, you're going to start it with a question. Gee, I wonder if, if these plants are absorbing sunlight and they're somehow able to take that electricity from the sun and turn that radiation and turn it into energy. Can we do that? That's just the start.
So you got to ask yourself, has it always been this way?
Yes.
Well, hundreds of years ago, when land was open and free to claim on the frontier, maybe not. But even then, let's say you're a pioneer moving west and you find this large swath of land, right? Let's say you just decided this is going to be my 100 acres. But then what happens is the people that got there before you, the Native Americans, are cruising around on your land. So what are you going to do? Well, all it takes is a couple of bad stories, rumors going around of natives attacking pioneers, and the first thing that I can imagine that somebody would do if they saw a Native American on their land would be to shoot at them.
Oh my God. Now he's devolving into all this blame the white folks crap. Yeah. Were those white folks in a desperate situation? Yeah, they were. Yeah, they sure were. Were those Native Americans fighting with each other and raping each other and scalping each other before we got here? Yeah, they were. Did they have elites? Yeah, they did. So that's just all loser patrol. It's loser patrol. Isn't that spitting in the face of God to bitch and moan about things being unfair? I do it all the time. But I mean, at least I'm able to see that that is not logical to you know, to it. How does this help anybody? Does if the Native Americans lost, they lost. How are you going to win? That's the question, right? Or if you're a Trump supporter, how are you winning? What has he done about the Rona? What has he done about the riots? What has he done, you know, to protect your Second Amendment rights? It certainly isn't suggesting that artificial intelligence be used to decide who should or shouldn't own a gun based on searching their data. Some kind of minority report pre-crime thing. So I'm always saying the same thing. We, the audience of these shows, should be organizing. How can we organize to help each other? Because I see both sides of everything. My personality is the debater. I can't help but see that. So, like, you know, I am now operating my yard care business, which is just me. And that's after I quit it because I didn't make enough money during the winter. Because you have to do different things other than mow. You have to deal with leaves. You have to have all different equipment. You have to have a trailer. You got to have something that's chewing those leaves up to reduce the space. And you got to have labor to help. And so, even though I have not been successful in my business ventures, I see that to be more because of my behavior. So, like, I don't like, why did I start mowing yards to begin with? Well, because I didn't want a regular job. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to show up at a certain time, right? So I wanted those freedom type of things. But then it's like, I have, trouble managing myself, right? To really know how much should I charge to mow a yard, you have to figure out, okay, well, how many inches is the blade on your mower? Okay, this one's 22 inches. Okay, then you need to mow a certain amount, and then be able to say, well, if the grass is this high, it's going to take me this long, and if I've got a bag, I got to bag it. You know what I mean? You have to know what is the cost per hour, and how much land can I cover per hour. You see what I'm saying? And I haven't even done that kind of stuff. So then you got to talk about, well, you got to have help to do this, and then that becomes difficult because it's like, well, now wait a minute, how does that work? Because let's say I'm getting paid $40 to mow a yard. Well, and then let's say I hire somebody to help me. Well, I got to pay that person at least $10 an hour, if not more. So let's say it takes me 2 hours to do a yard at $40, and then I pay somebody $10 an hour, so that's $20. So now I'm only making $10 an hour, right? Hey, Curtis, how you doing? All right. You see what I'm saying? I don't even, it's difficult for me to figure that stuff out. I mean, you'd have to be doing more than twice as much work to justify the expense of the employee. Not to mention the whole dealing with my behavior and their behavior. That kind of a thing. So Casey's saying, oh, it's not possible for you to start with nothing and make something. You know, even if it's hard, it's always been hard. When people could farm and do all that stuff and trade with other people without going through these middlemen, it was hard then. That's how we got to this place, is that was hard, and it became appealing. Like in colonial America, that's why you have like China. Hey Donna, I'm doing good, thank you. How are you doing? All right, it's nice to see you moving around. But yeah, it's like it's not going to help us to be having this. There's nothing we can do about it, and it's not going to help us to be isolated, and it's not going to help us to have unrealistic expectations. So how are we going to start cooperating? Because that's what these organized criminals and that's what these super rich people are doing. So, you know, obviously we could do quite a bit of that without having to worry that we're going to sell out and be involved in criminal activities. So that's my general question. What can we do as the online truth seekers to activate as a group, help each other out? Thank you.